You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive Scottish football content.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Football Show. I'm Scott Pike. It's a pleasure to be your host as always. We have obviously got a busy weekend to look back on. We had some cup semi-finals as we know in terrible conditions, terrible pitch, but we did get them played anyway, and we have an Old Firm final to look forward to. But to talk through this weekend's action, it is a pleasure to welcome back to the show, first of all, Adam Kennedy. Adam, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me on, mate. It's nice to get a wee chat about the football, so pleasure's all mine.
Definitely, it's really good to have you on. And making his debut on the show, it's a pleasure to welcome on Mitchell Feegans. Mitchell, welcome on to the show. It's a pleasure.
Thanks very much, Scott. Good to be here.
It's a pleasure. We're looking forward to this. We've got a lot to talk about. It's been a busy weekend. We obviously had the two cup semi-finals. We'll start with tonight's that is literally just finished about an hour after we're recording this. Rangers are in the final of the ViaPlay Cup. They won 2-1 after extra time against Aberdeen. Very eventful cup tie, classic cup tie feel, Adam. I thought both sides had good spells. I thought Rangers probably just deserved to win it in the terms of they probably controlled the ball better in the second half. They obviously had to come from behind. Aberdeen can take, like Kilmarnock the night before, they can take some positives from their performance, but Rangers got out, continues this really good record. Again, there's a lot to get through here, but first of all, very, very entertaining cup semi-final, I would say.
Yeah, very much so. I think everybody was sort of looking on to Aberdeen with regards to obviously the league loss at Pittodrie to Rangers and wondering if that was kind of hanging over them, lingering over them ahead of them meeting at Hampden. I don't think that was the case. I was very surprised to see them take the lead, but I have to say, as much as Aberdeen worked it well, it is dreadful defending from Rangers. I mean, Borna Barisic and Ben Davis, don't know if it's New York or New Year. And Bojan Miovski, lovely finish at the back stick.
I think he
worked it well, Matty Kennedy. He did.
Because
I think Duke's kind of stolen the limelight off him, hasn't he, with recent performances and goals. So, yeah, I think Aberdeen can take plenty of heart despite the defeat. Obviously, the red card probably does change the complexion of the game, as does then going into extra time. But they've got a massive league game at Tynecastle on Wednesday night, so that should be a cracker between Aberdeen and Hearts, and Aberdeen will probably feel as though they could take something off Hearts.
Yeah, Mitchell, I'd say it was a game that could have went either way. Both sides had chances. I do agree with Adam that the red card changed the game. First of all, no arguments in the red card?
Nah, I don't think Stuart, the Aberdeen captain, can have any arguments with the red card there. He's very high into the tackle. It's a risky challenge, you know. He's in nothing area of the pitch, in my opinion. He's on the sideline. I think it's a needless challenge from Stuart, and especially going into the 90th minute stoppage time, you know, going into extra time against a side like Rangers who've got supreme fitness and supreme athletes in their squad that can, you know, perform for the full 120 minutes. So I think he's really, really cost the side there, and Jim Goodwin will be very disappointed, especially coming from what should be the guy leading by example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I think there's a lot of... I think Aberdeen, when you look at it, they've obviously been in a difficult run. They had a massive win last weekend. You look at like the first half, Graham Shinnie was absolutely strolling the game. And kind of the second half, we've seen Rangers a lot the past few weeks. They've been able to come out second half. There's a bit more about them. I think the one thing Michael Beale is getting right, Mitchell, is that he's getting the best out of attacking players. I think Sakala's been much improved. Kent, I think he's getting more of a tune out of as well. And you kind of look at the subs as well, and I know this squad have been very critical of recruitment in recent weeks and recent months, and I think we see that's something that's going to really need addressed in the next couple of weeks. But Kemar Roofe, yes, he obviously got injured again, and I think that's the problem with Kemar Roofe is that, yes, he's very good when he's fit. He's probably as good as any Rangers player in terms of that kind of big game feel, but there's a reason Rangers could get him. It's because he's very injury prone, and you see that again today. He can score a winner, but 2 minutes later he's pulling up injured, and it's hard to see. But Rangers do have this thing to build on as well. I think the one thing you could have threw at Gerrard with Beale there as well was that their cup record wasn't good. Already Beale, they're into a final. It's against Celtic. It's a big chance for Beale to lay down a marker early on, because the league is probably gone. The league, unless Celtic have really show something they haven't done and really slip up, it looks like Celtic are going to win the league. This is Rangers' chance to kind of start the process. Obviously, Beale's going to be there long term. That's a big opportunity for Beale and Rangers to beat Celtic, get a trophy in the cabinet early. And it kind of, you never know where that takes you. Like, as I say, it can put you in really good stead for the other trophy, and plus it can show that Celtic are there to be beat, kind of thing. That's what they'll be thinking if they can get through that final.
Yeah, exactly that. Like you say, it would be a massive confidence boost from a Rangers perspective. You know, to get into a National Cup final, a chance to play our biggest rivals in front of the Scottish football fans watching the game. You know, it's a real chance for them to show what they're made of. I think Michael Beale will be looking after to try and, you know, assert his kind of authority against Celtic, because frankly under Van Bronckhorst he didn't really give Celtic much of a game in the games that I watched. Celtic under Ange Postecoglou just seem to be on another level at the moment, and it's going to take time for Rangers to get up to that standard. But I do think Michael Beale, he's like you say, he's getting the results, and he's got himself into a National Cup final already, which is a statement of intent. And if he can go and beat Celtic in that cup final, like you say, that can do the world of good for Rangers.
Yeah, definitely. Adam, before we get into the other cup semi-final, just a quick word about Rangers recruitment. As expected that Todd Cantwell will join the club in the next couple of days. You look at that, the one thing, obviously injuries have been a problem for Rangers, but there really needs to be some players added, because you just look at that bench, and all due respect to Scott Wright, but I know he come on and obviously done well for the goal, but you just look at the bench, and I know obviously Charlie McCann's there, like Alex Lowry, they're two young players, but Rangers need a fair injection of quality in the next couple of weeks. I would say maybe even 3 or 4 players just to, and it seems like that's going to happen, but I think that's badly needed in the next couple of weeks.
Definitely, and I think with the uncertainty with regards to Malik Tillman's stay, if they can turn that into a permanent one, with Todd Cantwell, you've probably got that ready-made replacement as a number 10. I don't really see him filling out on the flanks because, as you mentioned earlier, I think Fashion Sakala's been Rangers' best player for a good few weeks under Michael Beale. He, and obviously, of course, he's trying to get Ryan Kent on side. Cantwell in that number 10. I don't know with regards to centre forward who starts. It probably would be Cholak, although Roof's obviously put forward a case. Morelos seems to be slipping down the pecking order as the weeks go by for me. And I think Rangers will probably cut ties, whether that's in this window or not, to join several signings. I don't know. I could sort of see them hanging on to the end of the season and then allowing Morelos to be on his way. But Cantwell, I think obviously the talk of Tom Davis as well.
Yeah, Tom Davis.
So yeah, that seems to be the area. But for me, I think Rangers need to shift a midfielder or two on if they were to sign Davis. Cantwell, yes, because he's further forward, but for a traditional sitter like Davis really is, I think they've got one too many in that position already for me.
Yeah, I think the thing with Tom Davis is, and like when you think of Stephen Davis, like he's definitely seems to be that. I think Rangers need somebody like a Stephen Davis who can control the game. I think Rangers missed that. I think when you've got Jack, I thought Jack was really good today. I thought Jack controlled the game. The problem with Ryan Jack is, though, is that you can't rely on him long term. You just can't. You can't think to yourself, we're going to get 20 games out of Ryan Jack, because you're realistically not. Lundstrom, I thought, was a bit off today, but I think there's times he's been off and on. Rangers just need an injection of quality in the midfield, and I think obviously the goalkeeper situation I've spoke about for weeks. But Rangers are into a final, and it will be an Old Firm final. They will play Celtic. Celtic obviously made the final on Saturday, a 2-0 win over Kilmarnock. Mitchell, will come to you for that. Celtic, they got the job done. I don't think Celtic could play. I don't think Barcelona could play football in that park, and we'll get into it. I'm going to get into a bit of a rant on that in a couple of minutes if you don't mind. But Celtic got the job done. I think Kilmarnock deserve a lot of credit for the resilience. I thought they made it a game. It was another old-fashioned cup semi-final. Celtic deserved to win. We'll get into the penalty and things like that later on, but I think Celtic, they were deserving of the victory and deserved to be in the final.
Yeah, I think you've dealt with that well there, Scott. I think Celtic definitely did deserve the win in the end. Control possession through the majority of the game. But like you say, it was good to see Kilmarnock actually making a game of it. You know, there was fears I mean, obviously being a United fan, you obviously want Kilmarnock to lose. But there was, even amongst me, I was thinking this is just going to be a boring game where Celtic go on and dominate and put 4 or 5 past Kilmarnock and embarrass them kind of in front of a live TV audience at the National Stadium, which obviously if you're a Kelly fan, you wouldn't want to see. And it's not good for the game either. You want these cups to be competitive. But Celtic did deserve a 2-0 win in the end, but like you mentioned there, Kilmarnock were very unlucky not to get a penalty for me. And I know you've said you're going to rant about the pitch and VAR in a second, but I'm just going to have mine here. I don't know how VAR can be in place and not spot that that's a penalty for Kilmarnock there. And obviously, being a United fan, I'm the most impartial you can be here. But genuinely, I think that's a ridiculous decision. It's almost like a rugby tackle to the ground there and in the penalty area. And how the referee, how he's not spotted that as well is pretty questionable. But the fact that VAR, with all the camera angles that they've got at their disposal, hasn't spotted that, I think it's just pretty laughable, really.
Mitchell, I think there's 2 ways you can look at the referee thing, and I've said it before. If I don't believe there's a conspiracy against a club that have won 10 of the last 11 titles and have won 4 quadruple trebles and are sitting 9 points clear. I just don't believe that, and I just don't understand how people believe that. But as we've seen in the past couple of weeks, when you're putting referees under that pressure, when you're saying there is a conspiracy and these referees are not honest, those referees aren't going to. Do you know what I mean? Those referees are getting nervous. It was last night I saw that. Like, I don't know if you saw halfway through the game, there was a Willie Collum got in the way of the ball, and there was a roar of at least 45,000 got up and roared at him for it. Do you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what you're kind of dealing with. So I get why there's maybe an intimidation from Willie Collum not to give it. On the other hand, though, Kilmarnock, that is a stonewall penalty because there's no attempt to play the ball. So how, if that was the other way, would do you know what I mean? We'd still be hearing about it from the other side. Do you know what I mean? So you can't then say that this is all against a certain club, and then when it's the other way, say, oh, it's just an honest. Do you know what I mean? It's just an honest mistake. These things happen, and turn it round in others. That's the issue we've got here, and I've said that many times.
It's like you say. It's just some people just have really, really strange opinions. In my opinion, like I don't think you can say there's a conspiracy theory really either way. Obviously, if you're a Kilmarnock fan, you're absolutely raging because, like you say, Stonewall is an understatement. It's clear as day penalty. You'll see as clear a penalty as you'll see all season, in my opinion. I mean, like I mentioned before, it's a rugby tackle. But just going to watch Scottish football, like I'll go and watch it during the weekend. I know it's a little bit different, but like you say, intimidation is a thing, even from the players of the teams who are all. If a decision goes, if a foul's committed and the player in that team thinks it's a foul, they'll swarm the referee. And sometimes you see the referee just kind of going with a shout. I feel, and I've noticed that especially this season. It's interesting you mentioned Willie Collum because I think for me there's a number of referees this season, and I'm actually going to make a statement. I think this is the worst standard refereeing that I've seen since I started watching Scottish football. Genuinely,
but you watch the Championship, right? And this is where I was speaking to somebody the other day about this, and they're 100% right. By introducing VAR, you've taken, like you would think about it, you've got the top level officials who referee the Premiership. You've then got the obviously Championship. By adding 6 VAR officials, you're then taking away 6 OK level referees to then VAR. Yeah. And do you know what I mean? That's leaving the Championship with a lower standard and kind of below that. So that's the issue with VAR. Obviously, I know VAR, it's people have got their opinions. I think it's been brought in too soon. I don't think the referees really know how to use it yet.
No.
But how do you know what I mean? That's where I've got sympathy for the Championship clubs and kind of below that, because they're then getting a poorer standard of referee to facilitate VAR. So the best of the rest that aren't getting Premiership games are then going up to do the VAR game, the games with VAR. So then it's been just trickled down to you've got a lower standard of referee, and I don't think the standard of referee is brilliant in Scotland anyway. So these games are getting. Do you know what I mean? They're not getting the best referee. It's not. I just don't think it's right.
No, I think you're exactly right there. You know, like you say, they're taking away the referees that could be taking charge of a Championship match, or usually would be until VAR has been introduced, and just to go and monitor a screen somewhere else rather than given clubs across all levels, not just the Championship, but a much better standard refereeing. It's never been great, like you say, but it definitely has got worse this season. I mean, there's been more things that you see people like criticising after the game. It's not just the referees as well. It's the assistants. Sometimes there'll be things that are blatantly right in front of the assistant's view, and he doesn't help the referee out at all. And that's the role of an assistant referee. They're called assistant referees. It's not just a linesman anymore. It's not just their job to run the line. They've got to help the referee make decisions. And if they think something's happened, they should be on the board to the referee saying, look, this is a foul, this isn't a foul, etc., etc. But there's too many times where the assistant referees just don't do their job, in my opinion, and I don't think that helps the standard of refereeing at all. Not that it's great anyway, but it definitely doesn't help.
Adam, I went on a bit of rant there about refereeing, and I'm going to go on another wee rant again. Hampden's a shambles. Hampden is an absolute shambles, and I'm going to make it clear. If somebody said to me, you can get rid of Hampden and replace it with a Murrayfield, or even get the ties to Parkhead or Ibrox, get them there, because this is, you can't. That pitch has been a shambles for years. You've got two football teams like Celtic and Rangers that play magnificent football, that can play the ball in the deck, and they're not allowed to because of the way that park is. And I think it cost Celtic. I think it cost Celtic Saturday because Celtic weren't able to play their usual game.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, the fact that, in fairness to the SFA, I was about to fire kind of my annoyance at the SFA and the SPFL and whoever else is, perceived as being responsible. But I don't think the World Cup has helped in terms of this tournament should be at its conclusion now.
Yeah.
The final's then been dragged on because the World Cup's been in such an unfortunate position that it's mid-season. So it's had a knock-on effect, just like how you were talking about the referees. Ultimately, the World Cup's had a knock-on effect for all European leagues and all leagues worldwide, just as VAR nicking the supposed best refs has a domino effect on the lower leagues. So it just sums up FIFA's lack of consideration, the SFA's lack of consideration. Nobody's considering anything, and then they're surprised when it's a total shambles.
Yeah, and I think that's it in a nutshell. I don't think you saw that the part. I mean, I live across the road from my farm, and I'm actually looking at it just now. The farm's in better nick than Hampden was today, like the Farmers Field. And I've said that it's a disgrace. And again, it's something I've spoken about for years, and the atmosphere's no good and things like that. I do a semi-final at Murrayfield, do one at Parkhead, if this final at Ibrox or something, Hampden needs to go. And I'm sorry to say that. I know there's a lot of prestige and history behind it. It just doesn't do for me, and it's just never. It's not a good place to watch football either. See, if you're behind the goals, you need binoculars. I've been behind the goals several times at Hampden, and again, if you're at the other side and there's a goal, you need to wait until you're at home to see the highlights to see who scored the goal. And because the signal in there is horrendous as well, you don't get a phone signal, so you can't check your phone who scored the goal unless they tell you in the tannoy, which very rarely they do. It's something I could go on all day about. But we did also have, obviously, with the two cup semi-finals, we did have Premiership action. We had 4 games. We'll start on Friday night, actually, Adam. We'll start with Hearts' 1-0 victory over St Mirren with a Friday night fixture. Again, similar to the two cup semi-finals, I thought it was a very even game. Both sides can probably say they were unlucky not to. Both sides could say they could easily both get something for the game. St Mirren, I think, leave with a lot of pride, but Hearts, again, they're finding their feet, they're getting results. Barry Mackay with an early goal. Again, just Hearts, they're just ticking away towards third, and results have went in their favour this weekend.
Yeah, it's nice to see Hearts capitalise on results elsewhere going in their favour, because there's been numerous years where they've done anything but. So yeah, I mean, it's nice to obviously have your pressure kind of taken off you, having won on the Friday, and then I'll look on the Saturday. But if I'm honest, I thought Hearts were pretty fortunate. I think first half, whilst it was a commanding performance, I don't think there was too many clear-cut chances. A wonderful goal from Barry Mackay, I will say that. It's worthy of winning any game. The way that he starts it and involves numerous players. I think Lawrence Shankland, Andy Halliday, both getting involved, couple giving goes across the keeper. Lovely goal. But Mackay and Hearts seemed to kind of go into their shell after that. St Mirren, I thought, were very unfortunate not to take anything from the game, particularly based on their second half performance. And talking about VAR, the Kai Rolls penalty shout for me, this is what grinds my gears, Scott. I might go on a mini rant here. How they come to a quick conclusion with regards to Kai Rolls, I don't know. And they can spend, minutes dwelling on something that looks far clearer cut. It seems like they dwell on things that ought not to be dwelled upon, but sort of laugh off ridiculous suggestions or perceived ridiculous suggestions.
If I was Kai
in this
Rolls,
case, that St Mirren should get a penalty.
Yeah, if I was Kai Rolls, I was probably dancing outside Tynecastle with how he managed to get away with that not being a penalty. And that's the thing, and that's what we're talking about as well. There is this thing with the handball, and we've seen, even in England, we've seen it. We saw it yesterday in the Manchester derby. There's a clear handball in that game that isn't given. Do you know what I mean? And there's so many. You can look at this. What is this handball rule? Who's telling us what this handball rule is? Because do you know what I mean? There's several games you'll watch over this weekend with a handball where you think, is that a penalty? If the ball hits his hand and it's a direct, do you know what I mean? If the guy, whoever's got the ball, playing the ball with his hand, if it's deliberate or undeliberate, surely you should know just by the way the hand goes. Do you know what I mean? It's just...
Yeah, the unnatural position or natural position debate is fine, but it's the inconsistency with some that you then see given.
Yes.
Because,
correct.
They don't determine... It's the determination of whether it is in a natural or an unnatural position that is so inconsistent that now you don't know. If you're watching your team attack, you're probably shouting for a handball more than you are anything else, of just sheer chance that you might get given one. And defensively, when teams come towards you, you're bricking it because you're thinking, please don't do anything stupid. Do not extend your arms. How are they meant to defend now with their hands behind our backs?
Yeah,
it's just, it does not make any sense. And again, this is another thing where there needs a kind of greater clarification for all those involved, because until that arrives, then it's just going to be so inconsistent, as we're seeing, as you rightly put, on a weekly basis.
Yeah. Mitchell, I think the takeaways from the game are that St Mirren probably will be unlucky not to pick anything up from the game. But again, Hearts, we spoke about it with Adam, they just keep going again. They're getting players fit. A lot of players, like we said there about Snodgrass, I've said for a few weeks about Snodgrass, he's beginning to find his feet. He looks like a class addition, just that player who you can tell is levels above at times. It's two sides, I think, two top six sides, and I think either side would have been happy with. I think St Mirren, despite not winning, they'll be happy if they get a performance like that every week. They'll be comfortably top six.
Yeah, I mean, definitely St Mirren have been the surprise package for me this season. Some of the players that I've been really impressed with, likes of Bacchus, Mark O'Hara, who's obviously played at Motherwell before. He's a well-known face in the Premiership. I think he runs that St Mirren midfield well. He kind of, and him and Alex Gogic as well, I should mention him. They really complement each other in there. Gogic, tough tackler, will die for the badge type player, and Mark O'Hara's kind of almost the sort of playmaker. He dictates the play in there. Obviously, he's got the set piece ability from the penalty spot, which he has utilised to good effects this season when he has had the opportunity to take a penalty. But obviously, St Mirren are the only side this season to beat Celtic in Scotland. So it just shows how good they are. And Hearts, if you're a Hearts fan like Adam, I'd be absolutely buzzing getting that 1-0 win the other night. Maybe not their best performance, but if they're playing not the greatest and they're getting the 3 points, then you can't really complain.
Adam, how big is that for obviously you're a Hearts fan? Like you've got a lot of players coming back from injury. There's a lot of players finding form. Shankland's obviously been in good form as well. When you're not playing well, but you're getting those results, and as we say, third place is the overall objective. When you're sitting in that position, but your players are beginning to find it, and you're getting these results, it's massive for Hearts.
Yeah, it is, and it's the perfect start to a big week. Like I said earlier on, that midweek match with Aberdeen, with the opportunity to go 9 points clear of them, I think, in third is fantastic. And of course, the Scottish Cup showdown with Hibs at Easter Road. Yeah. So this is a really huge week. vitally important that we had to get off to a winning start. And as you lads say, winning when not at your best is the sign of a good team, traditionally, is the old cliche. And I don't think that Hearts were at their best against St Mirren at all and have come out with 4 points from a potential 6. So a decent point in Paisley, followed with a win in Gorgie, and it's looking good to start off the week for Hearts.
Absolutely. We'll move into the 3 games on Saturday. We'll start at McDermott Park. St Johnstone 2, Livingston 4. Livingston 3-0 up at half-time. St Johnstone, though, they clawed it, but they tried to claw it back, 2 goals, and it took it to a 3-2, but Livingston killed the game off. Doubles from Kelly and Penrith. Mitch, we'll start with you. Livingston, again, they just get results, and again, at 3-0, I'd love to have seen David Martindale's reaction at 3-2. He would have been thinking, what is going on here? But again, teams like Livingston, that when you get that 4th goal, it just calms everything down, and I think it's a huge 3 points for Livingston, considering you're 3-0 up. Obviously, St Johnstone do well to claw it back, but just to kill that game off, that'll be a big 3 points, and I think they'll be going up very happy after that.
Yeah, like you say, I mean, from a Livingston perspective, they'll have been really, really backs to the wall at 3-2. Worried City. Are we gonna bottle this? Are we gonna concede 2 points? Maybe even concede 3 if St Johnstone go on and scored 2 more, which is always a possibility in football, as well, as you guys know. But one player that I've been really, really impressed with from Livingston is Stephen Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just saying that he was at Ayr United a few years ago on loan from Rangers, and you could see then some of the goals he scored in his range of passing. I think he was only 19 at the time, but he could control the midfield. He could play deeper. He could play in a more sort of winger role if he needed to. He could play kind of number 10. Very versatile for someone of his age. And he's obviously played at Ross County and Salford City since then. And that's a really, really good addition from Livingston, who seem to continuously find those players that come in and just have an instant impact and really push them forward. Because a club like Livingston, they're not going to have the biggest budget, but they seem to use the budget they have really, really efficiently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well, when we talk about them every week, they find ways to win, and they're clinical as well. Adam, Livingston will be delighted, obviously, with that. But St Johnstone, on the other hand, although they showed signs of fight back in the second half, the first half performance will be serious cause for concern.
Absolutely, and given the torrid recent run that St Johnstone are on, this is the last thing that they needed. Is that now 5 straight league defeats?
I think it is, yeah.
And some of the goals are absolutely criminal. I mean, I'm even looking at the second goal where Nicky Devlin does really well to stay onside, but there's all the time in the world to just, I think it is Stephen Kelly, just sweep inside with his right foot. A great first goal, but I mean the third as well, James Penrice's flick. Deary me, Saints are just standing, watching, nobody taking responsibility, accountability. And at 3-0, Callum Davidson must have been tearing his hair out. And no surprise to then see him make, I think it was a triple change at half time, albeit the substitutes then looked to combine the likes of Jamie Murphy, Conor McLennan, trying to drag Saints back into the game, but the damage was done. And you were talking about David Martindale in the other dugout earlier. Loved his celebrations for the 4th goal. I think David Martindale is just an absolute character. Does not get spoken about enough in terms of the job that he's doing. And I think Livingston are a shoo-in for top 6, if I'm honest with you, Scott.
Yeah, I think they just grind out results. As I say, they're clinical. Like, we'll touch on 2 teams later on that aren't clinical, that probably got a similar level of player, but Livingston are just finding ways to win. I do agree with Mitchell with Stephen Kelly. I think if you can get Stephen Kelly fit and playing, he's such a good player. He's probably too good for a team like Livingston. It's just obviously he's been unlucky at Rangers not to get a consistent place in the team. He's really kind of emerging as a player in there who I think David Martindale trusts. Again, though, you think like what you mentioned there about David Martindale, Adam. Like, it's been a tough week for David Martindale. You lose your man in the dugout. Marvin Bartley's obviously away to Queen of the South. That's a big loss in the dugout. I know he's brought in Christopher Berra and another assistant manager. You know what I mean? They're just they're a
Neil Hastings, is it?
Yeah, Neil Hastings. Yeah, they're a solid unit. Like, do you know what I mean? They've backed David Martindale to the hill. He's got a good eye for a player as well. Do you know what I mean? When you're on that shoestring budget, it's vital who you pick up in terms of recruitment, and he's finding players that are fitting so well. Fitzwater will be a big loss if they cash in on him, which is looking very likely. But Livingston just keep going, and it's a big result for Livingston. Obviously, they are sitting in a really good position for top 6. We'll move to Easter Road, Adam, where Hibs, a last-minute goal from Kevin Nisbet, secured a 2-2 draw. Obviously, Kevin Nisbet has been in really good form for Hibs since coming back into the side. Two ways of looking at this. Hibs, big point, probably eases the tension in Lee Johnson for a wee while, and obviously Kevin Nisbet's been in terrific form. The Day United, that must feel like a defeat after been clear up until that last kick.
Yeah, definitely. It looked as though they were going to take advantage of some really poor Hibs defending early on. I mean, they were lucky to not be punished earlier than the 6 minutes that they were with a slack Ryan Porteous pass. But giving Arnold Jim far too much space, Stephen Fletcher, we know, is a big physical presence, does well to work it to Glenn Middleton, and it's an outrageous finish. But from there on in, credit to Hibs, they look to bounce back. They look to press for that equaliser. Kyle McGuinness obviously going close, but Kevin Nisbet is just in top form. Looks like he's never been away, which is a credit to him. I think that's now 7 goals in the 6 games since he's come back, or since the resumption from the World Cup.
Yeah.
And he does really well to create the space. Wonderful finish across the goalkeeper. And even his second as well is very impressive. I think the first touch is tremendous from the long ball forward. And he sort of shrugs off Liam Smith, does just enough to work that space, and it's another emphatic finish. He's a man that had to obviously take on the mantle of being Hibs' main man, what with Martin Boyle out, but seems to be stepping up to fill that void, which from a Hibs perspective is all you want.
Mitchell, when you look at Hibs, obviously that's a big point. If it wasn't for Kevin Nisbet, though, Hibs would be in trouble. D United, though, there is signs of improvement. I know that'll be a gutting result after been clear, but both sides will obviously take positives. Kevin Nisbet for Hibs and the D United, there is improvement there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, at the start of the season, they were almost kind of conceding goals, just left, right, and centre. Really poor goals. You know, to go and I mean, even you're playing against a team like AZ Alkmaar, obviously relatively established European club, but to go and concede 7 is just not acceptable against any team. Just really damaging for the players' confidence, and especially like Jack Ross goes to it must have been difficult for the players to get used to that and kind of shift their mentality towards how Liam Fox wants them to play. But I do think there are signs of improvement there. They're obviously level on points with Motherwell just now, but they do need to be careful and start picking up points. And the results like that yesterday, their fans will be really kind of disappointed they didn't come away with 3, because that would have been a massive 3 points. As for Hibs, once again, Kevin Nisbet just carrying them through, and in that game, you know, saving them from what would have been a damaging defeat. And like you say, the fans really might have turned on Lee Johnson then. In terms of Hibs' squad, I think there's a lot of dead wood in Hibs' team that needs to go. There's players there that are just not good enough, and there's players there that have kind of been under, you know, just signed for ridiculous reasons. They're not proven in the league. They're not really proven elsewhere. It's just gambles that Hibs can't afford to make in a minute, and they are very lucky they've got a player like Kevin Nisbet, who I think, along with Lawrence Shankland, is probably on his day one of the 2 best strikers in the league. So they are very lucky to have a player like him, and without him, Hibs could really be struggling.
Adam, obviously for a Hearts perspective, obviously we saw the derby in New Year, and I thought Hearts were leaps and bounds clear of Hibs, and I think a big reason for that is the defence. I think we saw, again, just look at the goals that Hibs concede, they're just so loose at the back. I think I can see the angle with playing Porteous as a midfielder, but I think the problem with that is that you don't have I don't think Bashiri's the best in terms of one-on-ones. I think Hibs are very, very open in that defence. And Adam, if from a Hearts fan, if you're playing Hibs in the Cup on Saturday, you must be licking your chops against that. Particularly Lawrence Shankland, Barry Mackay, they must be licking their chops against that defence.
You'd like to think so. Excuse me. But the only thing that's gone against Robbie Nielsen is the fact that he's not won at Easter Road as Hearts manager.
I wouldn't believe that.
I know. You would think it, given the tenure that he's obviously had, well, over two spells. But everything has to come to an end, and as you say, with the goals that Hibs are conceding at the minute, you'd like to think that Hearts are in with a chance of doing so.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a massive game on the weekend in the Scottish Cup. Final game to talk about in the Premiership was Motherwell 1, Ross County 1. A goal from McKinstry gave Motherwell the lead, but Ross County clawed it back with Howler. 10 minutes to go. Mitchell, I think the statement of this game is familiar feelings from both sides. Motherwell just struggled to get a win on the board. Ross County, we know, I've spoke about it so many times, Ross County just have very little threat going forward, and these are two sides that I think are really going to struggle.
Yeah, definitely. Ross County are still suffering from the loss of Regan Charles Cook in the summer. He really was the player that would get the goal when they were needing it most. Him and Hungbo last season were two of the kind of the standout players in that team that carried them through games and got them points, and they're missing that this season. As for Motherwell, it's the same old problem with Motherwell. Defensively, they're just not good enough, not resilient enough. I saw the goal, the Ross County goal. Hawula, it's a great finish, well taken goal. But I mean, Solholm Johansson, that's two mistakes in the last 2 weeks from him. He's totally misjudged the kind of the break of the ball, the bounce of the ball, if you like, and has let Hawula in. I mean, I'm pointing the blame at Solholm Johansson. You could probably point the blame at the other centre back to his right there, who could be covering in better. But I think the ball should have been dealt with much earlier. It's a simple ball that's been flicked over the top from a throw, and I believe it's almost a kind of hopeful ball forward that you're used to seeing in the last kind of 10 minutes of a game from a team that's chasing the match. And it should be dealt with from another frustrating one for Stephen Hamill and his players.
Adam, I think it's safe to say, and I agree very much with what Mitchell said there, Motherwell need defenders and Ross County need strikers.
Yeah, I'd certainly go along with that. What I would say is Motherwell seem to rely far too heavily on Kevin Van Veen. I like Stuart McKinstry. I really do. I thought he certainly grabbed the goal that his performance deserved. But I think Kevin Van Veen scored something like 40-50% of their goals. So if he doesn't perform, Motherwell don't tend to perform, as has been seen here. And yeah, just again, at the back, not great. Solholm Johansson. Paul McGinn playing midfield's a strange one. In need of a centre half or two. They've signed one from Ireland who's barely kicked a ball, so I don't understand that. And County, Jordan White, I quite like. He gives you something different up there. I think Jan Danda's a good player. I think Ross Callahan on his day is a good player, but there hasn't been sort of a consistent selection that's worked for County offensively yet. And I think, yeah, they're definitely in need of reinforcements this January.
They certainly are, yeah. I think there's two sides that really need to get their act together in January. It's going to be a difficult end to the season for them. Championship, let's go there. We've got a few games to talk about. Ayr 2, Arbroath 2, Cove 2, Wraith 2. The D Partick Thistle was called off. Hamilton were the only winners of the weekend. A 1-0 win over Morton. And Inverness 0, Queen's Park 0. Mitchell, best to start with you here. Ayr, obviously, again, they'll probably be upset. They'll be glad they clawed it back after going 2-1 down to Arbroath. But when Queen's Park obviously haven't won, it's 2 points dropped.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it that way. 2 points dropped, obviously, with Queen's Park not winning. So, maybe a little bit of frustration from that point of view. But I think having spoken to the gaffer and the skipper, Sean McGinty, yesterday after the game, I think the Ayr squad genuinely was pretty pleased with the point. I think the same was for the Arbroath team as well. Really horrendous conditions. In fact, speaking to a lot of fans at halftime and even after the game, they were all kind of all in agreement as to say, you know, the game really should not have went ahead. Conditions totally ruined it. You know, the wind was almost, I think Derek Gaston had a kick in the first half that's actually gone far short of the halfway line and started coming back the other way towards him. And his own defenders had to try and clear
classic
it.
Ayr.
Yeah, pretty much that. That's the best way to put it. But from an Ayr perspective, I mean, I think, like you say, little bit of frustration that the 2 points dropped, but considering the conditions, considering the wind and how that affected the game, a good point in the end, and good to see McGinty on the score sheet, the captain. Great header from him, and it was that half where we were actually against the wind in that half, and I was surprised we scored. When Arbroath got the second goal, I really feared for us because Arbroath obviously didn't manage to do much in the first half in the attacking third, going against the wind, and having saw that and just the kind of resilience of the Arbroath defence, I didn't see us scoring, but it was great to see Sean McGinty on the score sheet. And like I said, good point in the end. We'll take that and move on to Cove Rangers next weekend.
Yeah, next Friday night will be a big game as well. Mitchell, the thing I've got with United now has obviously been local. It's good to see there finally looks to be like a level of ambition, but there is also this thing as well where like there definitely is a project going on. Would it be fair to say, I know obviously if fans want to go up, they're desperate to get into the Premier League, but would maybe the thing with Queen's Park as well is that they're slightly ahead of schedule? Like, I don't think a lot of AF fans would have thought they'd be competing for promotion at this point in the season. I think it's a case of like AF fans kind of quite happy at the moment just to be where they are and hopefully like build towards it next season. If they don't go up this season, it's not a disaster. There's building blocks for a really good project at the club just now.
Yeah, exactly that. I think from my perspective anyway, I think I speak on the behalf of a lot of United fans that if you'd have told them at the start of the season, after just stayed up on the final day last year, it would be sitting second in January, you'd have snapped their hand off.
Yeah.
I think at the start of the season, I looked at the league and I thought if we can just stay clear of relegation, we can maintain that mid-table spot, 5th, 6th, and just get survival for next season, then I'd been extremely happy with it. And I think touching on Queen's Park as well, I think it is a similar scenario. Almost that we're almost going up too soon in a way. Obviously, I'd love to see us go up this season; it'd be brilliant. But I do think that even if we don't go up this year, like you said, it's far from a disaster. And I do think that we can go up in the next couple of years because the backroom staff's in place, and like you said, the project's there. Everyone's kind of striving in the same direction to achieve their goal, which is ultimately to get to the Premier League in the near future. So if not this season, then definitely in the near future, I definitely can see us going up there. And the aim is obviously to stay in the Premier League and become a established Premiership club eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly the plan. Adam, the winners of the weekend, the Championship, undoubtedly were Hamilton. If you think of a team that needed a victory more, I'll be very surprised. It's a huge 1-0 victory over Morton.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously with Ayr pegging Arbroath back, 2 points gained on them. Very, very surprising result. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't touch Hamilton Morton in a coupon, but you could argue that it is a coupon buster. Came out of nowhere, and a big win for John Rankin and Izaki's team as they bid to stave off what does seem an inevitable drop. But you never know. It gives them a chance.
Yeah, it definitely gives them a chance. League One, we'll touch on the results there. Alloa 2, Edinburgh 1, Dunfermline 4, Peterhead 0, Falkirk 0, Clyde 0, Kelty 1, Airdrie 1, and Montrose 1, Queen of the South 0. Adam, 2 wins for Dunfermline and Falkirk, obviously with Edinburgh going behind to Alloa. Dunfermline now look 7 points clear. Falkirk are closing the gap in second, are level in points with Edinburgh. That's 2 big wins for the top 2.
It certainly is, but they've only faced off against one another once this season. Is that right?
Yep.
They won each draw.
I think
because they were meant to New Year, obviously, and that got postponed. Yeah, so still a long way to go. But for the Pars, it's been a near perfect first half of the season. Sitting, what did you say? 7 points ahead.
They're 7 points ahead now of Falkirk and Edinburgh. Yeah,
7 points ahead. Recruitment's been really good for the Pars as well. I like several of their young loanees as well. I think it's pretty much nailed on. It would have to be quite the capitulation if they weren't to go up. It's whether or not that Falkirk will join them is the intriguing thing there.
Yeah. Mitchell, what's your takeaways from League One? Some big results. Montrose obviously winning, Alloa with a point as well, 3 points as well, takes them into the playoff places. Overall, kind of big wins over the weekend in the League One.
Yeah, I think touching on Dunfermline and Falkirk again, two sleeping giants almost in Scottish football. Growing up, I remember Dunfermline and Falkirk being in the Premier League at one stage. They've certainly got the fan bases to do so, at least being challenging in the Championship, if not in the top flight. So I do think we'll see. I do think Dunfermline will go on and win the league this season. I don't see Falkirk clawing that back unless Adam says it's like a big capitulation from the Pars. But I do think Falkirk, if they're not back this season to the playoffs, they'll definitely come back. I think next year will be their year. It's a very tough league. Also, Queen of the South came down and haven't really been doing as well as I anticipated. We actually played them at Somerset Park in the ViaPlay Cup, the cup that obviously the cup semi-final that just got played earlier on. We get beaten 3-0 at home by Queens in the group stages of that competition, and I thought Queens looked really good that day. The likes of Josh Todd, Rory Payton, Lee Connolly, real standout players for me. Obviously under Wally Gibson's guidance at that point, who has moved on now considering that run of bad results. Marvin Batley has now stepped in. Tough job ahead for Marvin Batley, but I think it's a good opportunity for him for his first job in management, a club that's probably isn't doing as well as it should be in League One. But there's definitely a project there. They've got some good young players. I mentioned Rory Payton before. I'm a big fan of him. Lee Connolly, he's always a threat. So I definitely think Queen's better times will come again soon.
Yeah. We'll move into League Two. We'll just go through the results. Borrowdale and Stirling was called off. East Fife won, Stenhousemuir won, Elgin won, Annan won, Forfar 2, Dumbarton 1, and Stranraer 0, Albion 4. Again, Adam, what a difference a few weeks make. Ray McKinnon went in at Forfar when they were sitting there and off bottom of the league. 4 wins in 5, and they're now competing for a promotion spot.
Can I just say, League Two is wild in terms of the drop off between, like, I think it's 4. Am I right to say the gap's something like 8 points from 4th to bottom?
There's 9 points between 3rd and 10th.
Yeah.
There you go. An absolutely bonkers league.
And 7 points between 2nd and 3rd.
Crazy. Because it looked all the world like Dumbarton were going to run away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Stirling then put up a decent bit of a fight, and it's still certainly not out with their means. But then there is that gap, as you say, where it's like any 2 from the potential other 8 could, or 7 or 8, could then make up the playoff places, which is just ridiculous. A bonkers league. But given Forfar's recent form, obviously you mentioned Ray McKinnon, very experienced manager, has worked at a higher level. You wouldn't bet against them moving on up the table, that's for sure.
No, you certainly wouldn't. Mitchell, obviously, another 4-0 victory for Albion Rovers as well there. Another side going places at the moment.
Yeah, I mean that's the standout result for me. I mean, obviously, but at the same time, Stranraer obviously were above Albion Rovers going into the game, and I've got some experience, but also led by Jamie Hamill, players like James Hilton, ex-Ayr, who I thought was a good young player at the time, and who's been scoring goals for them in League Two over the seasons that he's been with them. So a very surprising result. But like Adam said, League Two is just mental. You cannot predict anything 1 week. Stranraer could go and win 5-0 against East Fife. Next week they could probably go and get beat by Bonnie Rig Rose. You never know. You can never predict it. Just Stenhousemuir as well. Touching on them, Gary Naismith's in charge there. Very experienced manager. Obviously, ex Queens, ex Edinburgh City or FC Edinburgh now, as I should say. Believe 1-0 draw for them away at East Fife, which is decent. And having listened to a few Stenny fans speaking, the problem seems to be scoring goals at the minute, and they're really needing the kind of an out-and-out goal scorer, because they are creating chances, but they just need someone that can go and stick that ball in the back of the net. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a lot of sides in League Two. I think Stranraer, I do feel a bit for Stranraer. I think they're in trouble. I think there's some. I speak to a couple of Stranraer fans quite often, and they're saying that there's a lot of problems there, just in terms of they're not getting goals. They're conceding a lot of sloppy goals, and it's difficult. I think that league, if you're not picking up consistent results, you could be bad. And obviously, with the way the pyramid system works, I think you're only a few results away from potentially being out of the SPFL. When we saw in recent years with like Cowdenbeath and East Stirling, it's purgatory. It really is. You can be there for it. It's very difficult to come back up. But we obviously have a couple of things to talk about for midweek. I'm just going to go around the panel and see about the 3 Premiership games that are taking place during the week. We'll start on Wednesday at Celtic Park. Celtic host St Mirren. Can Celtic redeem themselves after their only defeat in the league so far this season, Adam? Celtic versus St Mirren. Give us your score prediction, please.
I will go 2-0 Celtic.
2-0 Celtic. I'm going to go for 2-0. 2-0. I think 2-0. I think St Mirren will make it tough, but I think Celtic will scrape over the line. Mitchell, what we got for Celtic St Mirren?
Go for a 3-0. Be a little bit different.
Very good. Adam will go to Hearts Aberdeen. Massive game for Hearts. I think Hearts will win this 1-0. Lawrence Shankland early on, and that'll be the game. And I think Hearts will stake their claim as I think they'll go comfortably third again, and it's 9 points.
I was very pleased with Friday night with a rare clean sheet. I think Aberdeen will put up more of a fight though. I'll go 2-1.
2-1. Mitchell, what we got for Hearts Aberdeen?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Adam there. 2-1 Hearts. I think Duke to score for Aberdeen.
Brilliant. And the final game live on Sky at 8 o'clock. We have Kilmarnock against Rangers. I'm going to be very specific here. I think Kilmarnock will take the lead in the first half and Rangers will claw it back in the second half. I think 2-1 Rangers. 2 second half goals will give Rangers a very tight victory. Adam, Kilmarnock Rangers?
I'll go, well, not against you, but I'll go different. I'll say Kelly 0, Rangers 2.
Okay. And Mitchell, what we got for Kilmarnock versus Rangers?
I'm going to go for 2-1 Rangers. Rugby Park's been a tough ground for Rangers in recent years, so I think it'll be a narrow victory for the Gers.
Brilliant. We obviously will have Scottish Cup action over the weekend as well. We will do a bonus extra show probably on Friday where we'll preview the Scottish Cup action and review the midweek action in the league. And we're going to wrap up the show there. All that leaves me now is to thank our 2 guests. First of all, Adam, thanks very much again.
No worries, mate. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. And Mitchell, great debut. Thank you very much for joining the show. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks very much for having me, Scott.
Brilliant.
Really enjoyed it. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Also, just a wee thing on what the content is coming up on the channel this week. We will have a West and a women's football show going out either probably Tuesday and Wednesday. Road to Cheltenham will be going out on Thursday, and there's 2 episodes left of Chronicle, which will be dropping on Friday, and we will see you all soon. Thank you very much.